You have destroyed my entire icy white set. You are a clumsy buffoon.
Listen, Tiptoes, don't you know men don't wear earrings? Women wear earrings. Men wear tattoos.
Ian, you shutterbrain. These days, who is most trustworthy? A woman with an earring or a man with a tattoo?
I'm not sure that either of those would be factors in determining trustworthiness. Some women even have tattoos now, you know.
I've heard that. I've seen it.
Yeah?
Mm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tattoos yourself?
Nope.
Not that you're willing to share with the...
Nope.
I heard you had that one of... Shh. Okay. Fair enough.
Do you want to see my piercing?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Put them back on.
Yeah, it's a strange one, the reference to men not wearing earrings, because in the 80s it was very prevalent.
Yeah. I mean, you can understand Sledge having views that are not, perhaps, socially progressive.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't have thought a man with an earring would be something to outrage him in 1987, 88, whatever we're at here.
I think that would be at the sort of peak of earring cool. Anyhow, enough of this claptrap. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Gerry. How are you?
Okay. Got a bit of a cold, bit bunged up, so apologies.
It's okay. At least you're not dying a death like you were last time,
or
the time before, whatever time it was. Did you enjoy your natural remedy that you were served at work recently?
No, it was repulsive. Ginger. Mushy, it was basically raw ginger, pulped ginger juice.
It was marketed as a flu shot. I think I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I didn't find it as repulsive as some.
I think the person who bought it would also have been sold some magic beans. New age stuff here.
I wonder what happened to his cow.
Anyway, we shall say no more. I think we should begin discussing this week's episode, Model Dearest.
How shall we begin?
Traditionally, you give us a summary.
Sounds like a reasonable plan.
Do you have one this week?
I always have one.
Crack on.
In Model Dearest, Sledge and Dory work separately to expose and shut down a group of human traffickers operating in the city. Dory's cover is almost blown when Sledge spots a photograph of her at the model agency the gang are using as cover. But the pair are back on the same page in time for a final showdown. Will Doro bring down the gang, or is she off to the Middle East to be both a mistress and a wife to royalty?
A model summary, Ian. An obvious one I went for there, but
yes,
appropriate.
I'll say no more.
This week we begin in Sledge's apartment and he is practising his draw speed with the fridge.
He's trying to outdraw the light that comes on when you open the fridge door.
I think if he keeps practising he will manage it.
I'm sure eventually he will, or the bulb will blow.
He then notices some mud, certainly brown gunk coming from
sludge of some kind.
Yeah, coming from the tap.
Sludge hammer.
Hey, that's poor. So he leaves to go and try and find his landlady.
He does.
In the hall, who does he discover?
Yeah, he goes out to the close and he comes across a young woman trying to gain entry to the flat next door.
Sledge remedies her problem in typical fashion.
He does. He shoots the lock off the door and gains entry.
He then awkwardly introduces himself to her and we discover why she is there.
So I guess you lost your key, right?
I don't have a key.
What, do you always break into your own apartment?
This isn't my place. Kim!
Then you're under arrest for breaking and entering.
But I didn't break in, you did.
Well, then you're under arrest for entering.
Look, my name is Sally Vincent. My cousin Kim moved in here 2 months ago, but I haven't heard from her. And I'm worried.
Yeah, she probably went out for lunch and the landlady rented her apartment.
I'm really worried about Kim. She insisted on moving in here. Wanted to see if she could make it as a model.
Well, what agency did she work for?
She was signed with the Continental Model Agency. I just came from there. They said that she did work for them 3 weeks ago, but they haven't heard from her since. This is a picture of her. I don't know what to do. If you're a policeman, I need help.
Well, you know what they say? We protect and serve. And cuddle.
They protect and serve and cuddle, but obviously don't search all the rooms of a flat when there's a person missing that lives there.
Leave that, Ian. That was a beautiful scene. Touching.
You thought so? I thought
Yeah.
it was a bit weird.
No, I really enjoyed it because for the first time, really, certainly with someone out with the triangle of Dory and Trunk, there was a real tenderness there. It was genuine. I could have imagined that in the first season, or even earlier in this season, in that situation, Sledge would have accepted the cuddle grudgingly and, sort of pulled a face as if he wasn't comfortable. He seemed very fatherly here, and genuinely he seemed pleased that she needed him and wanted him to help.
I wonder, what do you think to this theory? After he had his kiss with Dory and nothing else happened, he's kind of got past something where he thought, I wonder if something's going to happen, or, I need to stop something happening. Now that he's not having to worry about that, he thinks it's behind them. He's a bit more relaxed around other women.
He's been softened.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable theory. I think that we have seen, since that happened, we've seen, the rougher edges have been taken off. Not to the extent where he's still not a maniac.
Sure.
But his interactions, his people skills have been somewhat improved.
I would say so. Do you not think it's weird that he is so open with this woman when the last time he met a strange woman and he's close, she tried to kill him?
Yeah, but he appreciates that that's a rarity. He knows the crime stats.
Sure.
We head over to the precinct and this is quite fun. He is inspecting an adult magazine with a magnifying glass when he's interrupted by an unimpressed Wanda from the record room.
Yes, you remember her from a few episodes ago.
She was playing solitaire.
She was, so she's obviously not surprised by what she sees here.
No,
Well, she is a bit
surprised that Sledge is doing it in broad daylight. At least she was confined to a darkened room.
That's true, and she points out that the centrefold ladies she's looking at have as much on their bodies as they do in their minds.
He's a bit befuddled as Sledge.
He's caught in the act and he struggles with that a little bit there.
Wanda then informs him that, according to these newspaper clips that she's found, there was indeed, or is indeed, a continental model agency, and it seems to check out. It's legit.
Yeah, did you think that was Kim's photo that they were using in the ad?
It was them having the same face that gave it away. I know you're not great with that type of thing.
It went past, I was watching it double speed the last time when I did my notes.
Trunk appears on the scene. What does he have to say?
He wants to advise Hammer that a body has been found and the address should be familiar to him.
Why is that?
He lives there.
625 Stanford Street.
Is that a real address? Do we know?
Didn't check it out.
Okay.
I'm sure there is a Stanford Street in the States.
Sure. On the West Coast?
No doubt. There's probably one in Scotland.
Oh, there'll be plenty of them.
Yeah.
It does take him a wee minute to realise it's his address.
Yeah. He says he knows he should recognise it.
Yeah.
So we go over to apartment 15. Mayjoy's there, and he tells Sledge that the killer was obviously a maniac. Look, he shot at the door just to get in.
Hammer fobs him off slightly with that one.
He's a bit embarrassed.
And Mayjoy then advises him that the body is gone.
Yes, but it turns out that Sally is not dead.
No, she's alive.
She's at the hospital after an apparent overdose.
It's like the opposite of dead.
Yes.
The landlady comes in.
She's a strange one, isn't she?
She's complaining, first of all, about the door, and Sledge points out it must have been termites, so get that fixed. And secondly, she wants her rent paid, and he says he's not paying his rent until the plumber comes out and sorts the water.
Yeah. She's a really odd, it's an odd performance.
Yeah, you wonder, in fact, you said to me before we started recording, whether she's based on a character from something else that we haven't picked up on.
Yeah, it's so oddly specific that my tendency is to believe that this is a character from some other sitcom in the States that people might recognise.
Yeah, sure, she's a pastiche of something.
Yeah, parody of that type of...
If anybody knows,
let us know.
they can phone in to the usual number.
1-800-SLEDGE.
Military. And don't touch anybody. She says, after he leaves, she says, what a chump to nobody in particular.
Over to the Continental Agency, and Don, the photographer, is in the middle of a snow job when Sledge arrives.
Yeah, Sledge proceeds to do a Columbo-style destruction of the project.
I've written down here, Columbo-esque interruption. Buffoonery.
Yes, just kind of wandering around doing his own thing, oblivious to what's going on in other areas. He wanders across the photographs and gets in the background of a couple of shots, and then he leans on a massive industrial fan, starts blowing snowflake or fake snowflakes across them, and then, having established that the photographer is not prepared to take questions at this stage, he manages to knock a trunk right across the floor and take out the igloo that's at the back of the stage area.
And then we hear the clip we heard at the top of the show. Sledge grabs Dawn by the lapels and is then stopped by Jessica Hayden, the studio owner, who suggests that they chat in her office.
Yes. She is multitasking when they go through to her office.
Yes, she is fitting a model who we only see from the waist down. Or the
knees
down.
Yeah.
Yes. On a sort of catwalk. And this is very similar to Columbo as well.
A little bit, yeah.
Sledge doesn't know where to look. He's embarrassed by the female form. He gets a bit flustered.
He does. In fact, I think he cites the model for indecent exposure.
What happens first?
Well, Sledge tries to ask questions about Kim that doesn't really take him anywhere or make any progress. But he's also, at the same time, getting frustrated with Hayden.
Yes. She is as much use as Dawn was previously. She admits that Kim had worked for them
Yeah.
a number of weeks ago, but hasn't been seen since. She really can't help him. But before Sledge leaves, he slips the model a piece of paper, as you mentioned earlier. It's not his number, but a citation for indecent exposure. And then what does he say?
I can't remember.
He says that the only time that she has something on is when she has a coat on her tongue.
That's not true. He started with something on right at the start of the scene. Anyway, as Hammer leaves, the photographer comes in.
He does, and their true colours are revealed. He was meant to kill Sally to prevent her from going to the cops, and Dawn thinks that things are fine, but Jessica decides to take things further.
Yeah, she's going to complain to the police about Sledge's behaviour to see if that slows them down a little bit.
All right, Hammer, as far as you're concerned, you're off the Kim Field case. It's closed.
Oh, come on, Captain. Let me go back to that model agency. I'm telling you, something is fishy.
Go back. Why? Is there something you forgot to destroy? Jessica Hayden called me. She's mad as hell.
Captain, trust him. He knows what he's doing. Ooh, did I say that?
It's a gut instinct.
Hammer, your gut instincts almost get me fired once a week.
It's instincts that make good cops, not those silly rules against chokeholds. Hey, sometimes criminals ask me for chokeholds.
Captain, someone has to go down to that agency. It's our only link to the Fields girl.
All right, good idea. Hammer, you go back down there and you apologize, or you'll be pounding a beat on Skid Row, picking up wine bottles.
Well, this is great. Sally Vincent's in the hospital, her cousin is still missing, and we're standing around here like Mario Cuomo.
Como.
Right. Poor kids don't even have next of kin to take care of them. You're a fellow woman, Duro. Think of something.
What did you think of Dory using Sledge's catchphrase?
I think it shows how in sync they are.
Yeah.
And also that she probably believes what she's saying.
I don't, however, believe in her plan, or certainly the execution of the plan that she comes up with.
No, it's not obvious from the audio there. She's lifting weights while that conversation's going, which seems a little bit weird. She's not done that before.
She's not?
Or any other sort of random non-Congress activities.
Yeah, it was strange.
Did you get the Mario Cuomo reference?
No.
He was the governor of New York at that point.
Okay.
His son's currently the governor of New York. I did a little bit of reading. I guess people wanted him to get into the race for the presidential election in '88, and he didn't. So maybe that's what they mean by standing around.
Sounds reasonable. Back to the agency. And we discovered Dory there, undercover.
Yeah, you would assume that she has cleared this with trunk and taken the usual steps.
And let Hammer know.
Yes.
She is acting as Michelle, an aspiring model with no close relatives.
The way this scene was shot, it was as if we're not meant to realise that's Dory.
Yeah.
She's shot from behind, but it's obviously Dory right from the previous scene. You know, she's just had an idea.
Yeah. But in fairness, Ian, I'm going to bring this back up again. You cannot tell a woman by looking at her face sometimes. So never mind identifying one from behind when it's just her hair.
But it was made obvious from the lead-in at the end of the previous scene.
I think it's just a play on the trope of the reveal.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, the staff there, Jessica and the photographer, Dawn, they like her.
They do. They think she has potential, and she leaves after signing up. And after she does, Jess and Dawn agree that she will make their clients very happy.
Yeah, there's some chat about overseas travel as well.
Suspicious. Back to the precinct.
Hammer's looking for Dory, so obviously he doesn't know where she is.
Yeah. What does Trunk want Hammer to do?
He wants him to go back to the agency to issue the apology that he was previously asked to give. So obviously Trunk doesn't know that Dory's there either, or he would mention it presumably.
Yeah, why is Dory going rogue? There's no need for this.
No, it's a bit of a... And why is no one more worried about where she is or what she's doing?
Yeah, again, she's not working... She's not a private eye.
No.
You can't just go off and do things, go undercover on your own.
Pretty sure that's illegal, isn't it?
Of course it would. And if she hasn't cleared it and signed off all the necessary paperwork, surely if it ever went to court, there'd be an issue. You know, it was unsanctioned undercover work. It's not, not legit.
I didn't get it. Well, I got it from the story point of view, but I didn't get it from proper procedure.
Anyway, back to Trunk's request or demand that Hammer apologises. Hammer's not happy, as you'd expect, and he tells him that real men don't apologise.
Yeah, he has backed down from his previous apparent agreement to do this, but Trunk insists.
Yeah, he pulls rank. We head back to the agency and it's at the catwalk, and the aspiring models are not very good at walking.
No, but the way that they're being taught arouses some suspicion for Dory.
Why?
Well, she wants to know if they're doing a fashion show or a beauty contest, because they're being told to walk sensually and be attractive. But I don't know, because I don't think if you're modelling...
what I've got here is that's a very odd question.
Yeah.
You know, that you are, you know, there's a reason why you're chosen. It's not anyone can do it. It's not just, you know, grab anyone off the street. You're chosen generally because you are beautiful and you're meant to walk in a very specific way. Yeah,
and you're associating the clothes with the confidence or with the
It's
persona.
aspirational.
Yeah.
Of course it is. So, yeah, it's an odd thing for Dory to say. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And I would have thought Jessica might have picked up on that. I know she's unhappy about the questions being asked, but I'd have thought it might have tipped her off a little bit more about what's this all about.
Yeah, I mean, she'd certainly... Well, we go back to the changing room and Dory speaks with another model and discovers that all the girls appear to have no relatives and be from out of town.
Yeah.
Now, Jess enters and chastises Dory for this disruptive behaviour on the catwalk.
That's right.
Before Dawn enters, the photographer.
Yeah, and Dory says, I thought men weren't allowed in here. And Jessica gives a bizarre response, there are no men in here.
Yeah, this is one of the things that date the show.
It's a blatantly homophobic reference, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, the reason that Dawn is there is to inform her that that big cop is there. You know, the one with the horrible tie that clashes with everything. And Jess tells Dory that she will deal with her later. And we head over to the office where Sledge is indeed there.
Yes, he's come to issue a sort of non-apology.
Yeah, it's a partial, half-hearted attempt at an apology.
It's no good.
However, when he's in the office, what does he see?
Well, first of all, he sees a photo of Dory, a model shot, and rather than taking a moment to think about why that would be there, he blurts out,
That's my partner, Dory, the cop.
Yes. Why have you got a police officer?
It's just as ridiculous as Dory not letting them know what's going on.
Yeah.
They're equally to blame for this.
You need some common sense there. You need to say, well, hang on a second.
He then bumbles his way out of the situation.
Well, after Dory's brought through and signals to him to drop it, he says things like, my partner is much thicker of limb, and other assorted insults. And she looks offended. He's doing it to cover up. She should realise.
Yeah, it's an odd scene.
And then as he leaves, is it Dawn, the photographer? He says, they must be using cops for brain transplants, which I thought was quite a nice little line.
Now, Jess stupidly lets this whole incident pass without much interrogation.
Well, she feels it doesn't matter whether Dory's a cop or not. She signed the contract so they can deal with it. But that's a bit of a strange...
Yeah, well, Dawn's concerned, and rightly so, but Jess says, don't worry, she will soon be thousands of miles away, and they are about to move their whole operation to New York. Sledge's apartment again. He returns to find the place sodden with water, and he shouts on Miss Davis, the landlady, who...
It's behind him now.
Miraculously, there's an apparition appears.
It's really, really weird, that bit. Again, there must be a reference that we're missing.
What does she have to say?
Now, this bit I didn't get either. So she describes this plumber that she saw, but the last time she spoke to Sledge, the way she described it, she would have already seen this guy, because it happened before that meeting with Sledge, the way she calls the timeline. And when they had that meeting, he was complaining about there not being a plumber, and she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. It's out of sync.
It is. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's a continuity error here.
Yeah. Anyway, she describes this plumber, in inverted commas, that she saw just before she found the body, who had earrings, but they weren't little wrenches or pipes, they were camera earrings. And this time Hammer does twig.
He does. Back over to the catwalk, and we see Dory and the other models parade for Jessica, and some cliched, dubious-looking Middle Eastern types.
So that from Columbo as well.
Yeah, with their goons.
This is our beautiful Christie, modeling an exquisite ensemble by Loupé of Paris. Notice how her gorgeous blonde hair falls on her white shoulder pads and highlights her pure silk body.
Perfect. 10,000.
I'm sure Your Highness meant 10,000 to start, correct?
Oh, Jessica, you always were a hard bargainer. 20,000.
Remember, you do pay for what you get.
She will be a wife.
And now, presenting Brandy, all naughty and dressed in pink.
25,000. She will be a mistress.
And now, last but not least, Michelle, feisty and full of fire.
50,000. She will be a wife and mistress.
That's it, girls. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Your Highness. I'm glad you're pleased.
Jessica, you have outdone yourself. Well, the private jet is waiting. We leave within the hour.
The girls will be ready.
To hear our extended thoughts on this type of depiction of Middle Eastern royalty, tune in to episode 32 of the Columbo podcast, A Case of Immunity, where we went over it in some detail. Safe to say it's not appropriate.
To hear our thoughts on Dory in revealing skimpy clothes, you can listen now.
Keep listening.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
It's not necessary, but enjoyable. And I can imagine back in the day that would have been trailed quite heavy, that little clip. I think a lot of people would have been very happy.
I can see that your VHS copy's got a little rubbed out bit more. It's been paused so often.
We'll say no more about that. We go back into the changing rooms. Jessica informs the delighted girls that they have all been hired to work for one of the biggest agencies in the world, and Dory is rightly sceptical.
Yes, she makes a comment, I think, to Jessica, and then sneaks off.
Yes, she sneaks off as the rest celebrate with champagne that has been spiked by Don.
Yes, Don Merrill.
Dory calls Trunk, tells him where she is, and mentions this white slave ring. Now, that term, to me, seems a bit odd. It's like a slave ring, but a white slave ring, oh, well, that's worse.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if it's a black slave ring, then that's, fair enough, but a white slave ring, it's a phrase that I don't feel comfortable with anymore.
You would call it people trafficking now,
Yeah.
or human trafficking.
Uh-huh.
I think it was, yes, an early attempt to distinguish this from other types of slavery. Dawn comes through and confronts her while she's on the phone.
Tries to force her to drink the champagne.
And she won't. She throws it in his face, or knocks it into his face, and identifies herself as police.
However, just then, the military figure and his henchmen arrive on the scene.
But there's a twist.
There is indeed.
One of them is Sledge in brownface.
Yeah. He rips off his wig and eyebrows,
He takes the time, he's knocked these two guys out, and before he gets to the rest of them, he takes about a minute to pull his goatee off. And obviously he's not done his eyes where the glasses are with the same sort of skin colouring. So he's got a big sort of pale streak across his face. Anyway, he announces that just like in the movies, the man's here to save the helpless girl, and immediately gets set upon.
Yeah, so we have the end of episode fight scene, which involves swords and crayons.
Giant crayons.
Yeah.
Painfully projected.
And at the end of this, Trunk arrives with some other uniformed cops to round up the bad guys.
Just as Sledge shoots a crossbow at Dawn, narrowly missing his face.
Sledge then ponders where Dory would wear a gun in that particular outfit.
Yeah, and Trunk, rather than chastise Dory, says she took an awful risk, but good work.
Terrible work.
Sledge would be brutalised for that type of decision.
Now, Dory and Trunk, especially Dory, on how many occasions, with a whole episode based on Dory's use of proper procedure and protocol.
Yeah. I can only remember one occasion in the whole of Sledgehammer where Dory's been criticised for her work. It was the one where she got suspended in Play It Again.
Yeah, but that wasn't her fault.
It wasn't even her fault, but that was the only time she took any blame for anything.
Yeah.
Other than that, every time, no matter what she does, Trunk commends it.
We can only assume, as you mentioned earlier, that she is sinking more with Sledge's attitude now.
Perhaps.
Anyway, over to Trunk's office for this week's epilogue, and he has good news. All the girls have been saved and returned home.
Well, yeah, Trunk tells Dory and Sledge that the girl who was drugged, Sally, is going to be fine. They tell him that the girls who were sold into slavery have been recovered, apart from one group.
Which group?
The girls who were sent to Vegas. Because obviously there's a caliphate there of some kind, I don't know.
Well, it's a mecca for prostitution.
I guess. They're happy there anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. If that's what floats on a boat. And there we have it. A mixed bag, I think, this episode.
Yeah, it wasn't the strongest, but it was better than some.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really nice moments. I liked the cuddle scene. I liked the fact that Dory and Sledge were more in sync, even if it was a little bit out of character for Dory.
Yeah.
Some nice lines.
I did like Sledge's, attire aside or face paint aside at the end. I liked Sledge showing up to intervene in that scene in such a dramatic way. That was nicely done. But
then we have the more dated aspects of it, the homophobia, the mild racism, certainly stereotyping.
Yeah, there are some questionable elements, but
it's what it is.
It is.
It's what it was.
Yes, and will always be.
Some trivia.
Ideal.
The 7th of January 1988. Director was Dick Martin. We've discussed him before. Can you remember?
Dick Martin, no.
He played Cowboy Cody.
Oh, okay, when he'd been the friend of Sledge's father who works at the fair.
No.
Who was that?
The salesman, the car salesman who got
yes, it was
mind killed.
Yes, okay.
This is his first of 3 Sledgehammer directions.
Okay.
Dave Ketchum and Anthony DeMarco were again the writing team, and this is their final of 4 episodes they worked on. Guest stars this week, we've got Deborah Wakeham, who played Jessica. We saw her recently.
She looks familiar to me.
Yeah, she played Malovia in The Last of the Red Hot Vampires, the daughter.
Right.
Jill Jacobson played Sally. She has been in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Next Generation, Bob Newhart Show, Falcon Crest, and Up Yours.
Very rude.
Brian James, we've discussed him before, can you remember?
He was in the Baby Snatching episode.
He played Felix Rydell in If I Had a Little Hammer, correct. Yeah. And Mort Sertner, he played the Middle Eastern Highness.
His name is Mort.
Mort.
As in death.
He died in 1994.
Appropriately.
Yeah. I think his parents had
they knew he would die one
vision,
day.
Yeah. Died in 1994, aged only 66. He had been in LA Law, Murder, She Wrote, Matlock, The Bold and the Beautiful, T.J. Hooker, and Highway to Heaven. Again.
Perfect.
Did you recognise the title parody?
Model Dearest.
Mm-hmm.
I presume the word model is something different.
Yeah.
What was it?
Mommy Dearest.
Mommy Dearest, okay.
Which is initially a book, then a movie. It's a scandalous biography, and then subsequent movie starring Faye Dunaway of Columbo fame. about an abusive relationship between Joan Crawford and her daughter Christina. A very famous story, very famous bit of Hollywood scandal.
It's not really related to the plot of this episode.
No.
It's just the title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Favourite line?
It was when Dawn says they must be using cops for brain transplants.
Okay. Mine was some criminals really like chokeholds and even ask for them.
Sure. Seems reasonable.
Next week we have Sledge, a rattle and a roll.
Another baby one.
Could be.
People who want to talk to us about this episode can go to sledgehammerpodcast.com where there will be a post about it there, and for all the other episodes. So come over and leave your thoughts. Any trivia you might have about the episodes can go in there as well. That would be great and gratefully received. If you want to just chat to us about Sledgehammer or anything else, we're on social media. We're at Sledgecast, both on Twitter and on Facebook. And if you wouldn't mind helping us out, helping the show reach more people, go to iTunes if you could, rate, review, subscribe to the show. Like I always say, even if it's not how you choose to listen to the show on a week-to-week basis, it really makes a difference. And again, it's very much appreciated.
That's us.
Yeah, we'll see you folk next week.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.